Before the video starts real quick, I just wanted to say, go subscribe to my gaming channel, Storm42K, if you want to see me mess around and play video games. Link will be down in the description, and yeah, here's the video. My family and I lived in a nice house in a relatively friendly town from the time I was 6 until I was 11. The town was generally safe, other than the time some guy tried to lure my sister into his car. From the day we moved in, the neighbors across the street hated my family. We were never quite sure why, but we figured it was because my mom had accidentally parked on their side of the street the first time we visited the house. Regardless, we embarked on a 5-year battle with them that continued back and forth until the day we inevitably moved out. But the story comes from the strange and somewhat creepy/unexplainable things that occurred while we lived there across the street from them. The husband/father of the neighbor's household was in his mid-40s. He was bald and gave off kind of a creepy vibe. He would always stare at his teenage daughter or my mom. For the sake of the story, we'll call him Joe. Joe's father was important in the township for some reason. This meant that Joe pretty much thought he ran my street, neighborhood, and basically anything within a 2-mile radius of his house. So he did whatever he pleased. This included taking my mom's parking spot, cursing and yelling at her, staring at us, and giving us dirty looks. He accused us of messing with his cars after we lived there for 2 years, but we ignored it. Of course, we hadn't touched his vehicle, but he was willing to do anything to make us move out. About a year and a half before we eventually did leave the street, things took a turn in our little feud. My mom was the type of person to take things as a joke, so she would constantly make fun of his accusations and insults until he put up cameras. He claimed to the cops in our area that the cameras were to prove that we were, in fact, messing with the cars. The only issue with his story was this: the cameras didn't even face his vehicles. They faced our house, all the way across the street. This meant that none of his cars were even in frame, and to make matters worse, one camera was pointed directly at my window. I was only 10 at the time, so from that point on, my mom made me keep the shades down and the curtain closed. Other neighbors in the town told us that they had gone into his house and seen the video footage, which really did point straight toward my window. I still get chills thinking about that. As if the cameras weren't bad enough, there were various points in which my basement would be broken into and holes would be drilled into the pipes. We had doors outside that led to our basement stairs, and no matter how much we locked them, the drilling didn't stop. We eventually had to nail wooden boards to the entrance. A few months before we moved, my mom had come home from the store late one night to see someone jump from the fence that separated our yards from the street. The guy just stayed in his car and stared at her. To this day, my mom is convinced that all of these things were just tricks Joe was pulling to get us to leave. They worked. So Joe, let's not meet again, because quite frankly, you're creepy, even if you didn't hire people to break into my house and basement. This happened a couple of years ago, and it's time to get it off my chest. I was around 18, and for a period of time, I was very physically active. I had struggled with some bad habits brought up by excessive partying, and exercise proved very helpful in this regard. I regularly went jogging. Mind you, at the time I lived in a small town in the ever so peaceful Scandinavia, out all by myself jogging in the woods. Not a soul in sight, right? So my class didn't start until around noon, so I went for a morning jog, broad daylight and everything. I went on my bike to the tracks, left my bike at the jogging station, don't know what else to call it. It was a small red cottage where different outdoor clubs hang out. As I am about to enter the tracks, there are 2 middle-aged men sitting by the cottage. I glanced at them, only to find myself locking eyes with one of them. The way he looked at me was deeply unsettling. It was only for a moment, but I'll never forget how I felt when his eyes pierced right through me. My gut is making an honest effort trying to tell me that something is off about this whole situation. These men are wearing jeans and leather jackets. They sure aren't here for the sake of exercise. But I brush it off, thinking I'm overreacting. I was wrong. I had only been jogging for a couple of minutes when I suddenly feel like turning around. And there they are, in a white minivan, following me on the tracks. I feel that man's devilish eyes on me again. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. I'm doing my best, trying to think of a logical, non-threatening reason for them to follow me. Can't really think of one that makes sense. So I'm trying to work out what on earth I'm going to do. I don't want to make it obvious that I'm downright terrified. If I start running as fast as I can, I'm turning myself into prey. No one else is here. No one. It won't matter how loud I scream. Fortunately, I've been on these tracks a number of times, so I know there's going to be a sharp curve not so far away. So I try to act as if I'm not the least bothered by the whole situation. As soon as I pass the curve and I'm out of their vision for a short while, I sprint into the woods as if my life depends on it and hide behind a small rock. I'm crouching down as I see the white vehicle pass the sharp curve. Soon they're out of my sight, but I dare not move. I know that when they pass the curve and notice I'm nowhere to be seen, they'll know I've run off somewhere. After the curve, the trail is in a straight line for quite some time. They'll know I'm not on the tracks anymore. So I stay put, thinking that if they're after me, they will come back. If I'm overreacting, they'll carry on whatever they're doing, and I won't be seeing them again. But the white van came back. At this point, my memory is a bit vague. I won't even breathe, dreading the slightest movement will give me away. I can't fully remember if the van stopped and the dominant man went outside, or if they simply passed the curve again, very slowly looking for me. But I do vividly remember when the little van went back where it came from. I was somewhat relieved, though still a bit worried. Thing is, all tracks lead back to the cottage, where these men are likely to be. I then decide to carry on deeper into the woods, glancing over my shoulder every now and then to make sure no one is there. My sense of direction is somewhat okay when I'm in forest for some reason. I'm useless otherwise. Anyway, I know that there will be a highway if I just keep on going. I'm reaching the highway and making my way home from there. It usually takes half an hour walking from where I lived to the tracks. This journey home took 3 to 4 hours. Totally worth it. But I can't remember if I went to pick up my bike. I don't know what intentions these men had. I doubt they were good. And I do not know what was in that van. Thinking of it now, I probably should have called the police on those creeps.